I used to be completely shit at dating, but I made a decision to talk to every attractive girl that I saw. And after 3 years of cold approaching, these are my 7 most valuable lessons. Starting with something that changed everything for me once I started actually implementing it. So I was in Florida about 3 years ago, sitting at the beach by myself when I saw a girl who walked by who was my perfect type. And I wanted to go talk to her, but I instantly got filled with tons of anxieties and concerns about approaching her at the beach. All these limiting beliefs and doubts came to mind, but I went and did it anyway. And when I was talking to her, she said that she was on vacation leaving the next day, so I didn't think to get her snap or try and take things any further. And I just said, well, it was nice to meet you, and I started to leave. And she was like, wait, let me get your snap. And I was like, oh, okay. And we ended up hanging out later that night, and I got with her. And the lesson here is that you never know what girl is going to work out and which girl actually finds you attractive. So you just need to shoot your shot. I know it's so cliche, but it is so facts. Like, you never really know which girl is going to work out, what thing is going to lead to what. So you just have to try no matter what. And if you don't know what to say when you go and introduce yourself to a girl, don't worry, because this was one of my biggest struggles, and it was 90% of my concerns. And then after I figured out this, I instantly got rid of that anxiety, and it made going up to girls so much easier. So now when I go up to a girl, the first thing I ask her is, what is your name? And if she's not already like looking me directly in the eyes, I'll just add excuse me in front of it so I get her attention and then ask my question. It is genuinely that simple. I always hated pickup lines, and not knowing what to say was one of my biggest anxieties and concerns when going to talk to a girl. So having just a preloaded thing that I say to every single girl, 90% of the time, of course 10%, now as a dynamic communicator, I can mix it up and say different things that are, that work. But for most of my approaches to this day, I still go with, what's your name, right? It's so simple, it's so effective, and that's genuinely how easy starting a conversation can be. And boys, if you want to learn how to start and have great conversations, I built a conversation mastery guide teaching you everything that I've learned over these last 3 years and put it all into one guide so you can have amazing conversations and get the baddest girls on the planet. That's going to be for free, and the first link in the description below, you can grab that now. And now if you can truly embrace this, you will be unstoppable when it comes to cold approaching girls. So when I was younger, I didn't realize how difficult it would be to cold approach all these girls. The first time that I went and cold approach, I got rejected before I even got to say anything. They just kept walking and ignored me, and I was devastated. And I didn't cold approach again after that for months. So if I knew going into cold approaching that there's gonna be tons of rejections, setbacks, close calls, I would have been in such a better mental place. So what I'm going to be telling you guys is to understand that there is going to be a lot of adversity, a lot of difficulty in this journey. I mentioned this in one of my other videos recently. There was literally a time when I brought 2 girls home with me from the club. They were basically naked, just in their underwear, and I thought I was going to have a threesome, and it didn't happen. Like, this is what I'm saying with the bullshit that can happen with girls. Like, you can be right on the edge thinking you're gonna get some, and then things fall through last second. So you need to be prepared for all the adversity that comes with pursuing girls. It's not gonna be smooth sailing, and as I've had tons of success, there's been 10 times more rejections, setbacks, all that bullshit that's allowed me to get the success that I have. So if you're prepared for that in the start of this, you're gonna be so much better off. I used to be terrified of rejection, but that all changed when I learned this. So about 4 or 5 months ago, I was out at the bar in Florida with a friend, and I thought I saw a girl look at me and wave, and I was like, oh, I got my in. So I went up and talked to her, but she was just like, wait. She was like, who are you? And she wasn't waving at me, she was waving at someone behind me, and you know that scene from the movies, and it's always so embarrassing. And I was like, fuck. And she kind of rejected me in a little bit of a mean way, and it was not the most fun thing, right? But I was just like, okay. And what you gotta understand is that this rejection will only live as long as you let it live. That girl forgot about it 10 seconds later. You're going to be the only person that allows this to live on in your mind. If you just let it go then and there, you're going to be so much better off. And I have another example from this past weekend. There was a girl I was messaging on Snap from Tinder, and we were talking about going out, and she told me, come to the club. And when she was at the club, she was really drunk, but I was like, oh, hey. And she was like, who are you? And I was like, Sebastian, we've been talking. And it took like 2 or 3 back and forths before she was like, oh yeah. And then she gave me a hug and she was all excited. She was telling me to come to the club, all this stuff. And she didn't even remember when I got to the club. I was like, this fucking bitch. But either way, so The point is, these girls don't remember, they don't care. The only person that really cares is you in the end of the day. So once you can let go of rejection and just see it as a part of the journey, you're gonna be so much better off. And now something interesting happens when you work up the courage to actually go and cold approach every single girl you find attractive. See, for me, the place that scared me the most was the beach. I was terrified to go and cold approach at the beach. That spot gave me so many limiting beliefs and doubts. I was like, oh, they're laying down, it's gonna be weird, trying to approach them that way. They're with their friends. There were so many things that would always go on in my mind. So that's exactly why every single girl I saw at the beach, I approached. And one interesting thing happened. It was that actually, I never got rejected at the beach, and I ended up having really great conversations with a lot of these girls, sometimes sitting down on their towel, talking to them for 10, 15 minutes, and it went really well. Of course, there was that story from earlier where I ended up sleeping with the girl. That was the only time that happened, but all the other times, although nothing happened past the actual cold approach where I just sat down and talked to these girls, it was still a really good interaction. They were super nice, they were really friendly, and it was just a good time overall. So the lesson here is you'd be surprised how many interactions and conversations go really, really well if you just have the courage to go and talk to these girls. And if you run out of things to talk about with girls, you need to do this. So at 19, I was very one-dimensional. There wasn't many things that I did with my life. I loved to smoke weed with my boys, work out, and hike in the mountains. That was it. That was my only hobbies and my only passion. So once the conversation would steer beyond those things and just basic stuff, I really struggled to keep it going. But now, after 3 or 4 years of having read over 100 books, traveled alone to different countries, started multiple businesses, and done many sales jobs, I've had so much life experience along with so many other things that allows me to be multidimensional. So I can talk about anything with anyone. And I can be a jack of all trades and actually be an interesting person to different people, talking about the subject that they like with some passion, with some knowledge on it so that it actually flows really well. And the thing that you need to learn here is you need to be an interesting person. You need to be a jack of all trades. You can't just be one-dimensional and only like fitness. If that's your only thing, you're only going to be able to talk to fitness girls. Besides that, you're going to struggle to talk to girls in many different areas of life. So you really want to try and develop yourself as a person in as many different fields, studies, subjects as you can, and this will allow you to talk to everyone with ease. And this last attitude is a cheat code for getting girls if you use it the right way. So when I was in Norway for the last month, I confidently will state that every single attractive girl that I had the opportunity to talk to, I did. And what you got to understand is that positive, friendly boldness is going to be very receptive to girls. If you can just think of those words in your mind, positive, friendly, and bold. Those three attitudes of like that mindset shift will do so much for you. And let me give you a specific example. So I was at the bar hanging out with a friend I just made, and I saw a girl look over at me and she was giving me really good eye contact. So the second I saw that, I grabbed my drink, walked straight up to her, introduced myself, and within 30 seconds we were kissing. I got her snap and she ended up coming home with me later that night. That is what positive, friendly boldness is all about. I walked up to her with a smile on my face. I'm asking her name, smiling, just feeling good, being just a positive, friendly, bold person. And that is how I approached every single girl. And it really is the cheat code for success. And now, once again, boys, if you don't know what to say, you don't know how to start and have great conversations, that's why I put together my Conversation Mastery Guide, giving you all the knowledge that I have after doing hundreds, if not thousands of cold approaches with thousands of rejections as well. So I know so much about having great conversations. I put that all into this guide so all you guys can just skip all the bullshit and get straight to the stuff that actually works. And once again, that's free. You can pick it up in the first link in the description below.